for the rest of the hurricane season, which poses some inconvenience to our residents down here, to our school bus drivers. So having some permanent protection out by the water and not in the road as temporary protection is going to be good for the community.
The majority of the bulkhead will be installed via a barge launched in Bayou de Salmons, and the work is expected to be complete fall 2024.
Another hurricane season is upon us, and we want you to be prepared for whatever comes our way this year.
In the event of an emergency, we want to make sure you know what's going on. A great way to stay connected is by signing up for SCP Alerts. Simply text SCP Alerts to 888-777 and you'll receive all the vital information you'll need in an emergency situation.
And being informed is only half the battle. Have your plan of action together in advance. Choose an evacuation route or two. Put together an emergency kit that contains everything you would need in an emergency, and remember,
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer led by Ms. Sabrina Phillips and the Pledge of Allegiance from Ms. Sheila Curry from the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we once again commemorate the signing of the Constitution of the United States of America, we give you thanks for those far-sighted men who crafted it to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and their posterity. We are thankful that you gave them wisdom to balance the limited government with the rights and responsibilities of every American citizen. We thank you that the freedoms provided by our Constitution have endured and ask that you will help us to guard and protect this instrument of our liberties, that our children's children might enjoy these same blessings of freedom. We pray that you will continue to bless this great land and help us to be truly worthy of it. Bless our leaders and grant them wisdom to lead in the way you would have us go. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Thank you, Ms. Curry. Motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of August 19th, 2024. I have a motion by Ms. Wilson, second by Ms. Skiba. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes unanimously with Councilman Carmardell absent this evening. Special business, proclamations, canvass returns, etc. 2024-0291, a proclamation, Constitution Week. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. Proclamation, whereas our founding fathers, in order to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and their posterity, did ordain and establish a Constitution for the United States of America. And whereas the Constitution of the United States, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule of law, not by man, And whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention in 1787. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law Number 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd of each year as Constitution Week. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th and through the 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week in St. Charles Parish, and hereby urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privileges of being an American with all of the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. Be it further resolved that we, the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby commend the 7 New Orleans District 4 chapter of the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution, chapters by Lafouche, Francois de Levry, New Orleans, Spirit of 76, St. Tammany, Vieux Carré, and the German Coast chapter for their patriotic programs commemorating the occasion, and to express gratitude for the privilege of American citizenship in our republic functioning under the superb body of laws, the Constitution of the United States. Here to accept is Ms. Sabrina Phillips and Ms. Sheila Curry of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
One more. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you again for having the Daughters of the American Revolution. And I'm pleased to be joined with the German Coast chapter this evening, which I think is a very fitting name. So many soldiers from this area fought with Galvez for our freedoms. So I like that, the German chapter. And you may be seeing more of them. And I'm sure with all of us, we're happy for our freedom for that war. The Daughters of the American Revolution did start Constitution Week and keeps many of the traditions that we have in the United States and whatever alive, and honor the soldiers and all of their battles and help the veterans and school children remember. And again, thank you for having me in this lovely courthouse. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, ladies. 2024-0292 proclamation, National Child Passenger Safety Week, and National Seat Check Saturday. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. A proclamation, whereas every year thousands of children are tragically injured or killed in motor vehicle traffic crashes. Many times, death and injuries can be prevented by proper use of car seats, boosters, and seatbelts. And whereas today, all states in the United States territories have child passenger safety laws that require child safety seats for infants and children fitting specific criteria, which vary by age, weight, and height of the child. And whereas research shows that car seats reduce the risk of fatal injuries for infants and toddlers, and they are most effective when installed and used correctly. That is why St. Charles Parish is committed to working closely with safety advocates to help ensure children arrive safe and alive. And whereas the goal is to educate parents and caregivers about the best ways to keep children safe while traveling, no matter how short or long the trip. And whereas in Louisiana, child passenger safety fitting stations may be found statewide with over 600 nationally certified child passenger safety technicians available to make your child's safety seats, to make sure your child's safety seats are installed properly. And whereas St. Charles Parish encourages all parents and caregivers to take advantage of this service to make sure that their children are in the right car seats for their age and size, and that their seats are installed properly. To locate an inspection station in your area, please go to www.lahighwaysafety.org or call your local fire department. Now therefore be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim September 15th through the 21st, 2024 as National Child Passenger Safety Week, and proclaim September 21st, 2024 as National Seat Check Saturday in St. Charles Parish, and we urge all citizens to help reduce injuries and the tragic loss of lives by buckling up themselves and their children on every trip, every time. And here to accept is Chief Barry Minnick.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Parish President. Just want to say a few words about child deaths. We consider there were 99 child deaths in Louisiana. The most recent statistics we have is from 2019 to 2021 that are complete. There were 99 fatalities with child deaths, which we consider from newborn to 14 years old. Out of that, 63% were not restrained properly or not restrained at all. In Region 3 of the Department of Health, which we fall under, which includes St. Mary, Terrebonne, Lafourche, and the river parishes, St. James, St. John, St. Charles, we led the state in the number of child deaths. So we got some work to do from public health perspective, education perspective, that also included motor vehicle crashes and homicide by motor vehicles on children. ATV deaths were about 12%. And that includes most of the motor vehicle crashes, all the deaths were passengers. The ATV deaths some were drivers, some were passengers. But we still got a lot of work to do. So thank you for this recognition. Hopefully those watching and those in the audience will be aware of the proper restraints, not only of the child in the seat, but the seat in the car. All that plays a factor. And we recommend right now that if you're interested in child seat inspections, contact Louisiana State Troop B, State Police Troop B, and they'll get you either, they will inspect or they'll get you in touch with certified inspectors. But thank you for the recognition tonight, and just keep up the job of informing the public.
Thank you, Chief Minnick. 2024-0293, a proclamation. King Cat Fishing Tournament Weekend. Ms. Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Whereas the River Parish Tourist Commission will be hosting this annual King Cat Fishing Tournament in St. Charles Parish, September 20th through the 21st, 2024, with local events taking place in Lake des Allemands, Lake Salvador, and the Mississippi River, I-10 from Baton Rouge to Venice. And whereas teams of 3 compete on a national level in local qualifier events, which draw in more family competitors and also bring in competitors that otherwise would not compete in tournament fishing. To encourage further family involvement, a 4th person on a team who is under 16 or over 65 is allowed at no charge. And whereas the tournament will also host the King Kids Fishing Rodeo to be held in the Bonnie Carey Spillway on Saturday, September 21st, 2024, where all kids ages 15 and under are welcome. Participants will have their names entered into a scholarship drawing at the end of the year. And whereas the tournament's final weigh-in sites will be held at the Bonnie Carey Spillway Boat Launch Pavilion on Saturday, September 21st, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim Friday and Saturday, September 20th through the 21st, 2024, as King Cat Fishing Tournament Weekend in St. Charles Parish, and urge our citizens to join in for a weekend of fishing, fun, and festivities with the perfect blend of outdoor excitement and community celebration. We have Ms. Denise Burrell here to accept.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Wilson. And also Parish President Matt Jewell and the rest of the council. Thank you so much for this proclamation and declaring September 20th through the 21st as King Cat Tournament Trail Weekend. We are excited that the River Parish Tourist Commission is once again for the second year hosting this particular signature series tournament trail in partnership with St. Charles Parish, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. So excited, as Councilwoman Wilson shared in the proclamation, this is a 2-day event which will have a cabinets meeting on that Thursday at our host hotel at Holiday Inn in St. Rose. And then the Friday and Saturday will be the King Cat fishing tournaments where they will be fishing throughout the day, and weigh-ins will begin at 4 p.m. at the Spillway. All of the events will take place at the Spillway as shared, along with the King Kids Tournament. Last year, the added bonus is the fact that their weigh-ins are broadcast live on their podcast, on YouTube, on Facebook, and so they're broadcast live. And actually, myself and Mr. Dwayne Foray are able to join in on the podcast, join in on the weigh-ins, and welcome those that are watching and then those that are viewing, just to share about St. Charles Parish and the river parishes, and just to get them all excited and to invite them to come and come on out. Also, with that, from last year's tournament, there was so much excitement that our numbers has increased. So last year, and I will be brief, last year our numbers were 7 boaters and 17 anglers. This year, we've increased with the number, and from that tournament, it brought anglers throughout the year. From last September to this September, anglers throughout the year to fish our waters, which, of course, the King Cat, Catfish, what is it? I can't even get it. Catfish Capital of the Universe. I'm sorry, tongue-tied. And so this year, we have 38 boats and 71 anglers this year, which will be closer to 80 anglers. So really excited about the turnout, really excited about more kids coming out for the King Kids Rodeo. All of the schools have received their, the King Cats, or will. It was given to the superintendents of every school in the river parishes. The King Cat, I have these 2 flyers as well. King Cat, the King Kids Tournament, this is a free. You don't have to register. The King Cat Tournament, you do have to register, but this one you don't have to register. It's a free event. It's to come out for little anglers, young anglers, to learn how to fish. They'll be given different, they'll walk away with different door prizes and also fishing kits and tackle boxes and Bibles and hats and crayon kits. All that will be given to them, as well as the opportunity to enter into a scholarship fund. And that scholarship fund will be awarded to 6 winners that will go towards like their college education at their graduation. And last year we had 6 winners. Every year they choose 6 winners out of the whole King Cat Rodeo series, right? And so last year there were 6 winners and 1 from Shreveport, Louisiana. So we were represented in that. So just excited about the next weekend, and thank you all, and hope you all are able to come out and enjoy.
Thank you, Ms. Burrell. 2024-0294, a proclamation, National Hunting and Fishing Day. Mr. Pillier.
Whereas National Hunting and Fishing Day was created in 1972 when Congress passed 2 bills establishing a specific day to celebrate the conservation contributions of our nation's hunters and anglers, and whereas hunters and anglers have contributed more than $20 billion for wildlife and habitat conservation since 1937, with the purchases of licenses, stamps, tag fees, and through self-imposed excise taxes on hunting, shooting, archery, angling equipment, boating, fuel, and travel. From the waters of the Gulf Coast to the mountain ranges that reign over the West, American adventurers are supporting thousands of jobs and contributing to wildlife management in all states. And whereas sportsmen and women are our nation's most committed conservationists, hunting and fishing are premised on respect for wildlife and the formidable beauty of the natural world. It keeps our waters stocked and our forests healthy, ensuring that our country's public and private lands continue to provide both sustenance and sport for future generations. And whereas we would like to take this opportunity to commend hunters and anglers for their efforts on behalf of wildlife and for their contributions to conservation, we encourage all citizens to experience the wonders of the great outdoors and learn the responsibilities of hunting and fishing. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim Saturday, September 28th, 2024, as National Hunting and Fishing Day in St. Charles Parish, and urge all citizens to recognize the important contributions of America's hunters and anglers and all those who work to conserve our fish and wildlife resources. And we have Dr. Brian Brogel here to accept. Doc?
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the council and President Jewell and everybody for inviting me. This is an honor, and for the last several years, I've been receiving this proclamation, and just wish to thank everybody for their support. People who don't know, I've been on the executive committee for the state for CCA since 2006, which is our Coastal Conservation Association, which we're very involved in the parish with fishing and angling and stuff here. Also been lucky enough to become the local chairman for Ducks Unlimited since 2009. We've had a very successful chapter. In the last year and a half, I've been state chairman for Louisiana for Ducks Unlimited. So it's just my passion is conservation, land. A big part of this is keeping the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico and out of our front yards, and all the work that we do in Ducks Unlimited and CCA and for fishing and hunting helps to preserve that land, because we're rebuilding coast and rebuilding habitat, which also protects our properties. So it's very important. I appreciate all the work that the parish does and all of our hunters and anglers do in the parish and their involvement in our events. And also would like to encourage everybody who can to go ahead and get their hunting and fishing licenses done, because portions of that money go toward helping rebuild our state. So thank y'all very much. Appreciate it, and thank y'all.
Thank you, Dr. Brogan. We have an announcement, 2024-0290, the local board will review the 2024 assessment. Will be the regular meeting September 23rd at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. All right, moving on to reports. Reports, finance administrative activities. 2024-0295, the Department of Finance. Mr. Dewsome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have Ms. Amy Verbeen from CRI to discuss the results of our 2023 audit.
Good evening. Sit here. As Grant said, my name is Amy Verbeen. I'm the audit partner with Carr, Riggs & Ingram. We performed the audit for the parish for the year ended December 23. Perfect. All right. First thing I'd like to do also is to thank Grant and the finance department. They always give us great cooperation during the audit, work with us, and go through, provide us everything we need. So thanks to you and your team. There we go. This is just some information. We'll go through some information, a summary of the audit at first, and then go through some graphs. It won't be too long, I promise. It's not too terrible. Financial information, I know. The independent auditor's report for 23 was an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. Overall, meaning everything was fine. The report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters in relation to government auditing standards, we did have one material weakness and two compliance deficiencies. The internal control finding for the material weakness was related to some federal funds, and it really it caused a restatement of prior year amounts related to these federal funds as far as being revenues and liabilities and things, largely having to do with the fact that the parish got some of these it's CSL, FRF, coronavirus-related federal funds. The parish got some of these funds a few years ago, obviously when everything first started related to COVID, and it was a new federal program, and they gave out money without a lot of guidance. And so then we've gotten some clarified guidance since then, and it caused a shift in how these funds needed to be recorded on the parish financial statements. And that shift had to be kind of retroactive back to when the funds were originally received. So it caused a restatement, which caused us to have to issue this material weakness. One of the compliance findings was related to the budget. The Workforce Investment Act, SDA 14 fund, had budgeted revenues that exceeded actual revenues by more than 5%. And the Criminal Court Fund and Recreation Fund had budgeted expenses that exceeded actual expenses. I think that should have been flipped. Actual expenses that exceeded budget by more than 5%. This is I hate to say standard finding, hopefully nothing's ever a standard finding, but these are some smaller funds, and the council doesn't always go through every single fund in every meeting. So sometimes some of the smaller funds, it doesn't take much to get a 5% variance in some of these funds, and if there's more than 5% variance, we're required to report a budget finding. And the last compliance finding is related to a late filing, which is actually related to that material weakness. When that came about, the report was due on July 1st, which was a Monday. It was actually filed on the Wednesday, July 3rd, so technically it was late, barely late, but we just needed a couple of extra days to finish and make sure we had that guidance clarified and make sure we had those funds correct for that restatement. So it was just a couple of days late this year. We did not have a management letter issued this year, so there were no other findings or matters of note for the council. The next slide is we also perform what's called a single audit. It's a specific audit on the federal programs and the federal funding that the
parish receives. We had no control or compliance deficiencies related to any of the federal programs. The funding that I was talking about before, the finding I was talking about before with that federal funding was in how it was recorded in the financial statements. The actual use of those funds and the compliance with the requirements of that specific grant program were fine. That was actually one of our programs tested this year. We had 4 different programs that we had to test this year. And this is just a little note to give props. We don't put this report together. This report is put together by the Finance Department, Grant and his team, and then it's sent to the GFOA for their award annually. It has to meet some pretty rigorous standards and guidelines, and the parish has met that for the past 27 years. Again, we don't put this together. This is your finance department that puts this together. And the 23 report will be submitted for the same award. So this is just a comparison of some of the government-wide net position. I'll go a little quicker through this part because this is a little less interesting probably. Some of the colors here, the blue net invested, this is just the net position. Basically, it was pretty normal increases, nothing really that stood out. There was a little bit of an increase in the restricted, that's the yellow, from last year to this year, having to do with just debt service, some increase in restrictions of funds related to debt service. Everything else was pretty standard. Net investment in capital assets was just, it increased because there were additional improvements in capital assets purchased. The next one is the proprietary funds net position. So this is you can see at the bottom there, this is the waterworks utility system, the wastewater utility system, solid waste collection and disposal. Pretty normal increases there. There was a little bit of a decrease in the restricted here related to specifically the wastewater debt service fund actually decreased a little bit. The general fund balance, which is just the main operating fund of the parish, again, that too had no significant changes. What I'll point out here is that the parish does have an ordinance, a requirement to maintain a minimum unassigned fund balance of 5% of the general fund expenditures, which would have been about $2 million, or $7 million, whichever is greater. And you've got $16 million in that, so you're well above that requirement in that ordinance. Special revenue fund balance, all the special revenue funds, God bless you, all the special revenue funds are listed there at the bottom. There was a little bit of an increase there, largely having to do with road and drainage maintenance and operation. There was just some general road improvements and the revitalization plan for Paul Mallard, Louisiana 52, had some heavier expenses in there. That one actually those expenses caused a little bit of decrease there, but there were increases in recreation, maintenance and operations, and the flood protection fund. The flood protection fund was more ad valorem revenue that was able to get into there, and then some GOMESA funding in the flood protection fund as well. The revenues specifically for the governmental funds, not going to point out all of those. The bigger ones, the lighter blue, is the Road and Drainage Maintenance and Operations Fund. It increased due to intergovernmental revenue coming in, which was related to an increase in some projects that were done in 23 for that under that fund. The yellow, their yellow-orange color, is the flood protection. Again, more GOMESA and ad valorem revenue into that fund. The lighter blue is the recreation. Again, we've talked about that was intergovernmental revenue. The darker blue, that decreased from 42 million, looks like down to 12 million. A lot of that had to do with last year's bond issuance was in there, so it significantly looks like that fund was inflated. And then those bond funds were moved where they needed to be and used appropriately, so that fund decreased quite a bit. As far as expenditures, again, The Road and Drainage Maintenance and Operations Fund had some increases in expenditures, about 10 million or so related to capital outlay. That's Paul Mallard again, as well as just general road maintenance in the parish. And then the darker blue line towards the right, the non-major, it was increases in capital outlay related to the West Bank Hurricane Protection Levy Fund. There were some expenses in there and other small capital project amounts throughout the parish. Speaking of capital outlay, there was a pretty significant increase this year from last year. Again, a lot of that was the West Bank Hurricane Protection Levy Fund, general road improvements throughout the parish. So that had a pretty significant increase. Long-term obligations, which is the parish, related to the parish debt, it actually stayed pretty stable with the exception of the pension liability, which is based on actuarial amounts, so it's not unusual for that to swing pretty wildly from one year to the next. So that looks like it went up a good bit. But again, it's just the actuarial calculations related to the pension liability that are required to be disclosed. This is just a maturity schedule for the next 5 years for both governmental and business type debt. I'm not going to really go through any of the detail there, but just splits out principal and interest related to the parish debt. And the last one is sales and property tax trends. The sales tax trend, which is the yellow-orange line on top, stayed pretty stable this year in the parish. The property tax trend, due to some increases in ad valorem for some reassessments, was actually increased a little bit this year. And that's pretty much it. Any questions, comments?
Seeing none. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you.
All righty, 2024-0296, Parish President's Remarks and Report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. First, obviously, we're going to start with Tropical Storm Francine. I'm sure will be a hurricane by 10 p.m. tonight. Our EOC is closely monitoring this storm, ahead of the impacts. The latest track had a shift westward, and so that was obviously welcome news, and looks like it's going to be making landfall around Lafayette at this time. Obviously, we're still pretty much on the edge of the cone, and any wobble in the storm's track could put us back into that. So we have sandbag locations opened at 3 o'clock today, both East and West Bank Bridge Park. These sites are going to be open throughout the duration, and we will be keeping them stocked. We're going to have people there, at least during the daylight hours, checking IDs to make sure that the people who are coming to our sandbag locations are St. Charles Parish residents. Parish crews in the Department of Public Works have been working to check all of our watersheds today and tomorrow to make sure that that we are prepared for potential rains. Obviously, wastewater is placing generators at critical lift stations. We do have the generators that were placed with American Rescue Plan funding. I think that's the funding you talked about earlier, at several of our critical lift stations as well. So they are preparing. We're not going to be placing HESCO baskets into Zalman's based off of the current track. If we do have to, we will look at various places where we need to flood fight, should that arise. We don't have to put out as many HESCO baskets because of the Zalman's bulkhead, so that's a major step forward in our year-round flood protection. Garbage service is currently scheduled to run on normal routes, and residents should put out their trash to the curb to be collected. Residents should also secure all debris and loose items around their property that could become projectiles or end up in the drainage system. If there is a change on garbage, we will notify the residents of when that change is, and it may require any trash that has not been picked up to be brought in and stored. I'm just going to strongly encourage all residents to take time to ensure that that you and your family are properly ready for this storm. We always tell you to have a plan, and that's just because when these storms get in the Gulf of Mexico, they're getting just harder and harder to predict. At first, this was planned to just be a tropical storm, then a 1, and now a 2. So we just ask people to have a plan. Again, clear your yard of loose debris, check catch basins and ditches and near your home to make sure that they are clear. If you do see an issue in a catch basin, we ask that you do not try to lift the grading on the catch basin. Please call the St. Charles Parish EOC at 985-783-5050. Walter, I always think about you when I say that because you have the scars to prove it. But again, if you see something, report it to us. We will come out and take care of it. And again, 985-783-5050 is the call line at the EOC. Departments are all doing their checks and getting prepared for the storm as well. And then we're going to be sending out alerts. Obviously, we have sit reps going out to the council. We have information going out through the channel and the parish website as well as our Facebook. We do have an emergency alert system. Residents can sign up at any time. That's www.scpemergencyalerts.com. You can put your information in there, and we will send a text message directly to your phone related to this storm event. Okay, we'll go over to Destrehan 2 pump station. Obviously, as well as being prepared for the storm, we are seeing a shift towards the completion of this project. Sea level pulled the rest of the sheet piles on the original bar screen cleaners. So those improvements, the improvements of the new bar screens and the removal of those sheet piles will not hinder the pump station during its operation. I had the fun pleasure of going out there the other night, about Friday, and watching the pump station operate while some of the bar screens were still covered. And I can tell you there's a noticeable difference in the efficiency, especially of the 72-inch pumps that are there. Just on the note of pumps and related to the storm, the pumps got a very good workout last week with all of that rain. There were a couple issues that were uncovered, but all of those have been corrected before this storm. So we are excited to see that this project's moving forward. Walter, if you recognize that picture, I went ahead and used you. So picture credit goes to Walter on this slide. Our concrete panel maintenance program is going to begin soon. A third-party contractor has gone out and scored all of our concrete streets and looked for streets that needed several panels that needed to be replaced. So you guys approved that bid, probably a few weeks ago. Cass Brothers Construction is going to begin that work. This is a nearly $1 million concrete panel replacement project. The work was originally slated to begin today, but obviously with storm preparations, we have told them to hold off. No need to dig up streets right before a storm. And the concentration of this project is going to take place on some older streets in the parish. You can see Milling Avenue from Hall Street to Talbot Street, Talbot Drive from Sugar House to Milling, Post Drive from Paul Mallard to Sugar House, Corville Drive from Sugar House to Milling, Hall Drive from the asphalt section to Milling, and then Celia Drive, which is that loop over there, number 6 on Barton. So that goes Barton to Barton. It just makes a circle there. So again, they're going to be out there replacing some of these damaged concrete panels that have not been touched for a long time. This project did come in way, way under budget. And so there's the potential that we will be able to get more concrete panels replaced under this project. And we will bring that to the council for your approval when that time comes. East Bank lift station improvements. We have some East Bank lift stations that are seeing about a $1.6 million upgrade, or $1.6 million in upgrades, thanks to in large part from the Pontchartrain Conservancy and a grant that we got from them. The project includes upgrading 3 old dry pit stations that are about 40 to 50 years old. And it's really hard to find replacement parts for these types of stations. In the picture you see on the screen, that's Wildcat Lane, which is right off of Ormond Boulevard. It's getting a brand new station with a wet well, valve pit, pumps, and a new controller. The work is also being done at stations on East Street and Clayton Street in Norco. This station is under the road, so it wasn't easy to convert it. And so the new station is being built in its place. So that project is ongoing, again, partially paid for by grant funding. and continuing to upgrade some of the old and outdated infrastructure that we have. We always talk about sewer. Sewer is not very sexy to talk about. It's kind of nasty. But when the sewer does not work correctly, you definitely hear about it, and we want to make sure that it's always working correctly for our residents. So we're going to continue projects like this. Okay, Willowdale Turn Lane, I know this is the project that just won't get finished, but we are very close, I can tell you. All they have left is a little bit of striping. They need some dry conditions for the striping, and which we just haven't had over the last couple of weeks or so. And we're going to officially celebrate the completion soon, but it's already functioning. So, and we're already seeing a reduction in the stacking of cars at that intersection, especially during rush hour traffic. So we're excited to see that project finally come to a close. Oh, it's close. King Cat Fishing Tournament, we just heard about this in the beginning portion of the council meeting. Last year's first ever King Cat Fishing Tournament in St. Charles Parish was a really big success. The organization is coming back with more participants and added a free kids fishing rodeo the weekend of September 20th and the 21st. The King Kids Fishing Rodeo will take place on Saturday, September 21st from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Bonnet-Carré Spillway in Norco. Residents can view the official weigh-in of the monster catfish at the Spillway in Norco on Saturday, September 21st, 4 p.m. I just want to say that this is one of those events. This is a King Cat travels all across the United States, and a lot of the anglers who attend that event, when they came to St. Charles Parish, they said not only did they never seen catfish as big as we have them, but they never seen them as plentiful as we have them. And in fact, a lot of the folks actually fished in the Mississippi River for this event. One guy told me he caught over 1,000 pounds of catfish within about a 1 hour period. So they were very impressed with this, and they are hoping to one day make this one of their headline events with a $100,000 prize for the winners. So we are very anxious to see this keep growing. This is one of those tourism events that we think is a good thing and showcases the parish, not only our parish, but the river parishes, to people from all across the country. All right, keep St. Charles Parish beautiful. St. Charles Parish is now home to one of 40 local affiliates of Keep Louisiana Beautiful, the state's leading organization that works to combat litter and blight and work towards a more beautiful state as a whole. During the affiliate formation year, the Keep St. Charles Parish Beautiful Committee applied for and received a grant for 10 trash receptacles that were placed at the West Bank Bridge Park and the Mississippi River Overlook. We're also recognized with the Outstanding Parish Award for the Lieutenant Governor's Office and the Keep Louisiana Beautiful for our successful trash bash in the event's 16th year. In our event's 16th year, I'd like to thank our Coastal Zone Manager, Marnie Stein. She really took the lead on the affiliate process, which included outlining community goals for litter abatement and beautification throughout the parish. We'll switch over to sales tax. Sales taxes were up significantly for July. They were up 17.74% higher versus July of 2023. That equates to about $586,825 for that. We are now back in the positive when we look at year to year. As you recall, we were slightly below, but now we are moving again in the right direction. This is being attributed to several industry turnarounds that have been ongoing, and we hope to see that progress continue. And that looks like the last bullet item, and I'll accept any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Wilson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question. With the rain that we had on Friday and with the upcoming rain, has anyone been in contact with DOTD in order to clean out the culverts on River Road? Because that could be one of the reasons why River Road floods so much.
Mike, you want to take that? I know DOTD has one culvert truck for about 8 parishes that they operate in. So as much as I'd like to get them to do it, I'm not sure if they can do it, but.
I'll be with them tomorrow. I will mention it again to them.
But we talk to them all the time, and they do. They have one culvert truck for the entire District 62, which includes us. So it's very difficult to get it here. A lot of times, we partner with them and help them out, and they help us out in other areas. The River Road has got more problems because of the levee runoff, especially at the curves, is where the water really piles up. And I've spoken to them many a times about that.
Okay, because I know the second home on the levee side, between Lowell Street and River Place, that area, that particular culvert is clogged. So I know with that being clogged, the others are clogged, which won't be able to flow behind the homes on River Place.
Councilwoman, I'm just going to say, we'll go ahead and get
Yeah.
our Public Works to do it, because if we rely on DOTD, it's just not going to happen. And I think I know which house you're talking about. She has a large oak tree, and I think it's a lot of leaves in there. So we'll get that. Mike, I know exactly where that's at.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to thank Mr. Jewell, Mr. Bingham. Good choice on sea level as a contractor to do that pump station number 2. For those who rely on it, and that's about 57% of the people who are in the Ormond watershed, I'm one. I'm on the south side of the CN tracks. That part of the watershed goes all the way from Scheck-Snyder Lane over to South Destrehan Avenue. It's a big amount of acreage than everything north that's in the Ormond subdivision. But we've had a lot of that intake to that station block for a good while, for a good reason, for construction. But it's now back to at least what we had before we started this upgrade, and actually more because of the window that we put in the pump house, the 72-inch pump house. So I want to thank you guys for making that in time for this storm. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Perrier. All righty. Ordinances, resolutions introduced for publication, public hearing, Monday, September 23rd, 2024, 6 p.m., council chambers and courthouse in Hanville. 2024-0298, 2024-0299, 2024-0302, 2024-0303, 2024-0304, 2024-0305. All right, planning and zoning petitions, 2024-0286, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classifications from R1A and R1M to R1AM on Lot C, Block 5, Hanville subdivision, between 163 and 149 Hahn Street, Hanville, as requested by Marvin and Anita Singleton. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This request is to rezone a split zone property formerly part of an RV park from R1A and R1M to R1AM. This would allow for it to have manufactured home units on the property. The staff initially recommended denial, and the Planning Commission recommends approval. I will say on this one, because of the practical difficulties on the site, we do support the Planning Commission's recommendation outside of what's strictly in the criteria. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. File number 2024-0286 is now open for public hearing. Does anyone like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Parish President. My name is Marvin Singleton. I live at 440 Courthouse Lane, Hornville.
Hi, my name is Anika Singleton, 440 Courthouse Lane, Hornville.
Yes, we ask for your support in this change from a R1M to R1M, R1AM to an R1M.
you mix it up.
Appreciate your support.
R1A
I'm sorry.
and R1M to R1AM.
Yes.
Please, we would like your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is in my district, and I ask my colleagues for your support.
All right, any further council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0286. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0289, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classifications from R1A, R3, and C3 to OL and M1 on approximately 250 acres designated Track L Davis Plantation, Luling, as requested by Tracy L. Johnson for Luling Exchange LLC. The council has received a request on behalf of IMTT to withdraw this application for the Luling Exchange LLC as it relates to file number 2024-0289. The administration has confirmed this request. In addition, this matter is currently pending litigation. So with the aforementioned stated, I'd like a motion to postpone this matter indefinitely. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Ms. Skiba. Please cast your votes to postpone indefinitely file number 2024-0289. And that motion passes unanimously. All right, ordinance is scheduled for public hearing, introduced at a previous meeting. 2024-0281, an ordinance to levy an assessment onto 2023 ad valorem tax bills of property owners that are delinquent in paying outstanding invoices for the removal of weeds, grass, etc., in accordance with the St. Charles Parish Code, Chapter 16, Article 3, weeds, grasses, etc., and to levy an assessment on ad valorem tax bills of property owners that are delinquent in paying outstanding charges incurred for the removal of unsafe structures, trash, debris, in accordance with Chapter 16. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You succinctly put what this ordinance does. I think this is the first time this council has heard this ordinance. Yearly, we recoup the cost, charges, and everything related to grass and compelled maintenance on property through this ordinance. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. File number 2024-0281 is now open for public hearing. If does anyone like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any council discussion? All righty. Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0281. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0285, an ordinance approving a special permit use for a bingo hall in a C3 district on a portion of Lot 31, Ellington Plantation, Luling, as requested by Abdel R. Anoub for Noob Brothers LLC. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This ordinance would support the special permit use for a bingo hall in C3. The applicant meets all of the special permit review criteria. The staff recommend approval, and the Planning Commission recommended it pending this action tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Albert. File number 2024-0285 is now open for public hearing. If does anyone like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0285. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0287, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of change order number 1 for the Willowdale Turn Lane, project number P230804, to increase the contract amount by $87,600 $41.69 and increase the contract time by 44 days. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Mr. Jewell did a great job on showing us what a beautiful job this has turned out to be. This is really helping that community. It's creating a safer intersection that we all appreciate. What we did here was the DOTD came back after the project was already bid and asked us to extend the limits to move up to their property line, to their road rather than the property line, which involved redoing the loops that were there, adding more asphalt. And we also did a change where we took out the base material on the sides and went full depth asphalt to save time. That all came up to the amount that we're looking at. I'd like ask for your approval of this. This has been a good project and has done a lot for that community.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. File number 2024-0287 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0287. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0288, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of change order number 1 for the Engineers Canal Bank Phase 1 Bank Stabilization Project number 190301 to decrease the contract amount by $52,995 and decrease the contract time by 44 days. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project went very well. We stayed within the budget, resulting in a deduction at the end. We'd appreciate your support of this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. File number 2024-0288 is now open for public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Mr. Bingham, can we spend the $52,000 and buy some more sheep pile? Can we have it ordered already?
No, we haven't got it ordered already, but we will do more work on that canal. The reason we stopped where we were is there is energy power lines that will need to be relocated for us to go further, so.
Good. Thank you. Any further council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0288. And that motion passes unanimously. Ordinances, resolutions which have been tabled. Does anyone want to remove a file from the table? All righty, seeing none, we'll move on. Persons to address the council. 2024-0300, Mr. Stephen Huffman. Davis Heights rezoning, Luling Land Exchange, 15R. Mr. Huffman.
Good afternoon. I originally came here to talk about the IMTT Davis Heights expansion, but with that being postponed, got some other things to discuss. Last week or so, I read an article, one of our elected representatives had said that you had no control over property values. And I argue that you do have control over property values by the policies and laws you enact here in the council and items that our zoning board passes. I moved here a little over 20 years ago for the schools and the community, and I looked over in St. Rose, but we wanted to come here instead of St. Rose because the industry was so close to the residences. And I was going to argue that if we allow IMTT to build within 500 feet of our homes, we'll set a precedent for Bear and the others to do the same thing. And then in time, the plants will say they need that 500 feet, and they'll probably get it. And that'll create the same condition we have in St. Rose with industry 2 feet away from people's property lawns. So, and even with the 500-foot buffer, I'm arguing that we could lose 50% of our property values. And I won't discuss the purchase amount of that property. But we just declared National Hunting and Fishing Day, and we're talking about keeping Louisiana beautiful. With the proposed changes or additions coming to St. Charles Parish, not only is the beauty going to be affected, but our health could be negatively affected as well. And I want to thank a local elected official for pointing out on Facebook that if we were unhappy about the tank farm coming, wait till you see what's coming to District 4. So we all started investigating and found plans for carbon capture storage programs on thousands of acres throughout St. Charles Parish. Currently, there's 3 active land leases in the parish. Lapis Energy has 14,000 acres in Bayou Gosh. Total Energy has 21,000 acres in Willowdale, around Willowdale Boulevard to Bayou Gosh. There's a third site, roughly 20,000 acres, Lake Cotahuachi, around Lake Cotahuachi. And you put all this land together, it's roughly 25% of St. Charles Parish for carbon capture technology, which is really part of the Green New Deal. It was passed with the Inflation Reduction Act, billions of dollars. So I have a question for the council, asking if everybody on the council and planning and zoning has researched this technology. Are you comfortable with this technology, the carbon capture and the blue ammonia that's coming to the parish? Or are you being pressured by the federal or state officials to vote in any kind of way? Because, I mean, this is the Green New Deal. If you research this technology, it's hard to find anything positive. Instead, you see accidents all around the country. In Yazoo County, Mississippi, 50 people in a neighborhood were hospitalized due to a CO2 pipeline rupture. People couldn't breathe, and they're having seizures on the ground and passed out in their vehicles when their vehicles quit running because of lack of oxygen. First responders were also stopped in their vehicles. So I'm asking our local government officials to research this technology, have open, untimed discussions with citizens, town halls possibly, post or print as much information on this technology as possible, since it's going to take up 25% of the parish. And if you think it's positive, then show us that it's positive and it's the best thing to do. I'm really not looking forward to pushing the Green New Deal in my St. Charles Parish. I'm not against business expanding, but their expansion should not come at the locals' expense, whether that be our property value or our health. And with this being Constitution Week, you know, our Constitution freed us from tyranny. And one of the definitions of tyranny is a small group of people in government exercising their power over the greater majority of people that they represent and not doing the will of the people. So I just ask that we publicize some of this information about this carbon capture technology so we can all see for ourselves what exactly it is. And, you know, it might put us all at ease, it might not, but at least we have the discussion. In Lake Morpall, they're building one now, and they're already having problems. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman.
I got one question. The Davis Heights rezoning, could that come back up at any time, or it's unknown right now?
Mr. Albert, I'll direct that question to you.
You mean what was on the agenda tonight?
Yeah.
That's been postponed indefinitely, that's essentially done.
Do more notices have to go out for another?
Yes, if they would have to reapply, start from the beginning, it would probably have to have a different shape to how they're rezoning it, and it would start over at the commission.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Huffman, does that answer your question? So it's a whole new process that had to start over.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Wednesday, August 28th, members of the Parish Council hosted a town hall at the R.K. Smith Middle School Gymnasium. The purpose of this gathering was to provide a respectful and informative forum where residents could hear directly from IMTT representatives regarding their application for a change in zoning on property adjacent to the Davis Heights subdivision in Luling. It also provided an opportunity for residents to ask questions and voice any concerns. Due to pending litigation, council members were unable to comment or answer questions, but were present to listen to the presentation and feedback from residents. Unfortunately, instead of fostering constructive dialogue, some attendees chose to engage in heckling, rude remarks, and other disruptive behavior directed at both council members and IMTT representatives. This disrespectful behavior continued beyond the town hall, with personal attacks against council members on social media and an anonymous letter attacking my character and integrity being sent to Davis Heights residents. All of this has occurred before the council has even had the opportunity to vote on the application. I would like to extend my sincere apologies to the IMTT representatives. At our request, they agreed to attend to provide information about their application. As our guests, they were simply fulfilling their professional responsibilities. I urge those who were involved in the organized planning and discussions that occurred prior to the town hall to reflect on their role in helping set the unrealized expectations of some of the attendees, contributing to the behavior that followed both during and after the event. Over the years, I've attended numerous town halls, including one organized by the administration with FEMA representatives following the passage of the Bigger Waters Act in 2012, which would have led to skyrocketing flood insurance premiums. Over 1,100 people attended that event, and though emotions ran high, the attendees remained respectful throughout. I firmly believe, as a community, we are better than this. St. Charles Parish residents with differing ideas and opinions are more than capable of coming together to exchange information and share feedback in a civil and productive manner. My hope is that should we face another sensitive issue in the future, we will be able to do so with respect and decorum that fosters genuine dialogue and understanding. I would like to extend my gratitude to Parish President Jewell and his administration for their support with the video equipment and the podium used at the town hall. I would also wish to thank Superintendent Dr. Kent Ortling, school board members, Principal Harold Blood, and the staff at R.K. Smith Middle School for allowing us to use their gymnasium for the event. A special thanks to our council secretary and staff for their hard work in preparing for and managing the event. And lastly, I sincerely appreciate the IMTT representatives and all of the residents who took the time to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fonseca. A resolution, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael, quick question. In this situation, and if something else comes up, is there a way or is there something that we can change in the ordinance to inform more than just the abutting neighbors on any upcoming items, or what, to change the ordinance or something to inform more than just the abutting neighbors?
Well, one thing that is kind of a guiding principle for how we do notification and reports is to avoid anything being arbitrary or capricious, and without some absolutely definitive standard to say this application is different from these others, I would say that, you know, the best efforts are from the applicants reaching out to the community. We advertise and we mail notices and we post notices in the same way every time, and that's a legally defensible way that our attorneys can support when we are challenged on something. So I'm not saying no, but I think it would have to be based on a criteria that's objective.
So Daniels.
So, Mr. Albert, basically what you're saying is if there's a rationally related way to draft an ordinance that's not prejudicial to either the applicant or the residents, is some way we can objectively come up with a method to perhaps differentiate between certain types of developments that are sought, that might be possible if the council so decides.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. All right, resolution, open pursuant to LARS 33903832 to hear any objections to the creation of an economic development district to be called Highway 90 Economic Development District Number 1 at the public meeting on Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. 2024-0283 is a resolution authorizing the publication of a notice of the intention to create Highway 90 Economic Development District 1 of the Parish of St. Charles, State of Louisiana, under the authority of Part 2, Chapter 27, Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950, as amended, providing for the employment of a special counsel and providing other matters connection therewith. File number 2024-0283 is now open for public comment. If anyone wishes to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, I'm Joseph Coco. I live at 40 Melrose Drive in Destrehan. So I saw the boundary description map that was shared in the agenda items, and I saw that it contained the southern portion of the Davis Plantation. So that's on the far right-hand side of the map. And I was curious if that land, which is currently zoned as wetlands, what the plan was to, if there were any plans to develop that region. I looked at the future land use map, and it appears as though the northern portion of that property does plan to be zoned as general commercial. So that makes sense to me. I think that probably makes sense to most people here. But I was curious if there was plans to develop that further south, further into those wetlands. And I also noticed that it sounds like this is going to give the Highway 90 Economic Development District Number 1 the ability to expropriate or eminent domain land. So I didn't know if there was any plans to use that eminent domain to allow for pipelines, which could potentially carry industrial gases to be built through existing land. Thank you.
Mr. Albert, you want to tackle this one?
I can take half of it. You're referring to this area
Yes,
here.
yes.
There's no development plans, nothing submitted to my office at the moment on any of that. And on the other part of it, I'm not aware of any expropriation language. It's a tax incentive for the businesses that comply with the new higher standards on Highway 90.
Yeah, the only intention of the overlay district, and, well, the overlay district is a higher level of zoning requirements on the businesses within the district. And you have, as a part of doing that, we want to create a tax incentive for these companies and businesses and property owners to come up to that standard. And what this allows them to do is access a tax incentive if they increase if they do let's say a remodel that is greater than 50% of their current value, they can freeze their assessment at the current rate for 10 years, which allows them to help kind of pay off that improvement. So that's the only reason we're looking at it.
Yeah, I just saw that the economic development districts did actually have the ability to expropriate property, so I didn't know if that was planned in any form.
No, we have no plan or need to do that at this time.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Coker, I have one question for you. I just need you to state it. Do you have an objection to the district being created?
No, not at this time. I just wanted some clarification on those questions.
Thank you, Ms. Coco. Appreciate it. Thank you. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? You can do so now. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Devin Hilburn, 592 Willow Ridge Drive.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Hi, I'm Devin Hilburn, 592 Willow Ridge Drive. I live extremely close to that rezoning. I've got a question about the tax incentives, because the industries as a whole don't really pay that much tax. They come in and they don't even offer jobs. And that has a big effect on me because I'm a welding student. And a lot of, like the ammonia plant stuff, we don't get those jobs. All of that is prefab. That comes in, they bring it in. Usually all they need is pipe welders. And they don't take that many because they truck them in from where they want to get them. They don't take many structural welders. And y'all say that this brings in jobs, but not to us. It doesn't bring in jobs, and you're not really clarifying it. I mean, how far is this supposed to go? Are you planning to take up the whole parish with industrial facilities and make us not the parish of plenty?
Mr. Hilburn, it's not an industrial part of it. It's an economic development district. I think Mr. Jewell could most probably answer that.
Yeah, so let me just, okay, first, I'll just take a couple of those points. Number one, this is an economic development district for Highway 90. So when you're driving down the C3 commercial corridor of Highway 90, and Mr. Albert's going to show you right there, it's hard to see, but that yellow line is what outlines the district there. And so this is, first we created an overlay zone. An overlay zone takes the existing rules that we have for zoning. So in the C3 zone, basically say, you gotta do X, Y, and Z, right? Well, this adds another layer to that, basically trying to dress up the Highway 90 corridor, make our buildings look better, try to get rid of big signs on poles and bring them to monument signs, standards on like basically not building a metal building, and things like that that are gonna help kind of elevate the business corridor of the parish. This is an announcement that we are declaring that we would seek to create an economic development zone. This has nothing to do with any industry in St. Charles Parish. I will object to what you said about industry not paying taxes. They do pay 91% of all ad valorem property taxes, and they pay about 71% of all sales taxes. So that's a combined about 84%. That's not to argue with you, but that's just a factual statement.
They hire anybody from the parish.
I think the vast majority of people are either hired or indirectly hired in some form or capacity by industry. But I don't want to get into an industrial debate with you. I just wanted to tell you that this Highway 90 Economic Development Zone has nothing to do with the rezone that was tabled earlier or any other thing than trying to improve the basically aesthetic standard of buildings along Highway 90.
Yeah, but that's cutting into a wetland area, which is actually taking away the beauty of Louisiana. And
There is no proposed development on any wetland area right now, according to this Highway 90 Development Zone. If a company wants to develop in wetlands, there is a huge process that they have to go through with the Corps of Engineers, DNR, the DEQ, to mitigate those wetlands before they can build on them. That means that they have to pay for wetlands in a mitigation bank somewhere else before they could touch wetlands in St. Charles Parish. So what you're talking about is not happening in regard to this agenda item.
And that abuts up to the Willdale Boulevard.
Yes. These properties here are the ones that are
Well,
affected by it.
for the most part, this part is wetlands. That's what I'm talking about. That's, I think,
But
what is that,
it's-
cypress tree swamp?
Yes, but it's only included because it's adjacent to the street. It's all
Yeah, but wouldn't
properties.
y'all still be cutting into the cypress tree swamp?
No one's
Is-
doing anything there.
This isn't a rezone.
No one's doing it. There's no project attached to this. This is more about the shops making their signs and frontages
Oh.
look nicer. There's no construction that goes along with this. If the businesses in this corridor do what they're supposed to do, they get a tax break. That's all.
But will we benefit from it?
Well, it'll look better.
But that's not us benefiting from aesthetics. That's only us seeing that.
That's your opinion.
Mr. Chairman, unless there's an objection, I think we ought to move on.
Hilburn, so can we put you down for an objection to this?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Hilburn, appreciate it.
You want him to object?
All right. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? All right, seeing none, public comment is closed. Resolutions, 2024-0297, a resolution requesting Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, the DOTD, install climb deterrent barriers on the Hale Boggs Memorial Bridge. Ms. Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank my colleagues for their support in this resolution, which is also going to be forwarded to State Senator Greg Miller and State Representative Beth Billings and Sylvia Taylor in reference to requesting DOTD install climb barriers on the Luling Bridge. This is hopefully to reduce the attempts of individuals wanting to commit suicide. So this will be sent to DOTD with the other representatives listed, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. File number 2024-0297 is now open for public comment. If anyone would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Is any? Oh, I'm sorry, Steve, I apologize.
I got a question. Will the protection for the baseball fields be reviewed and added on to with this? Or could that be looked into? Just to make sure that the protection above the baseball fields that are just currently there is all in good shape?
This is for the Luling Bridge.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to.
Are you referring to things coming off of the bridge?
Yeah, I think you have some debris cages up there already. I'm just asking that they look into them, make sure they don't need any maintenance. Make sure they're all in good shape, that's all.
If I could, sir, if they put these things up there, the type of fencing that she's talking about would act as that same protection for people trying to throw things off the bridge. So they would look at the whole thing and put up new barriers to meet what the requirement that she's asking for.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else want to come up and speak regarding this item? All righty, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Council discussion, Mr. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I saw this resolution, I instantly wanted to support it back when I was about 25 years old, pretty newly married, crossing over the GNO Bridge one Sunday morning. I believe it was an Easter Sunday. A car pulled, to a stop, and I knew something was wrong. And a lady opened up her door, and I told my wife, I think she's going to get out of that car and run to the railing. And I put my flashers on, I opened up my door, and by the time I got out of that car, she had jumped over the rail to her death. And that kind of struck me when I saw this, so I appreciate you bringing this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perrier. Any other council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0297. And that motion passes unanimously. Appointments, 2024-0301. A resolution to confirm the appointment of Mr. Brandon Savoy as a representative of the South Central Planning and Development Commission to fill the vacancy on the South Central Planning and Development Commission caused by the expiration of the term of Mr. C. Bub Millette, term to begin immediately and expire January 9, 2028. The term is concurrent with the governing authority. Our nominee is Mr. Brandon Savoy. Please cast your votes to confirm the appointment of Mr. Brandon Savoy to the South Central Planning and Development Commission. And that motion passes unanimously. I want to take a minute to recognize our state representative, Ms. Beth Billings. Saw her sit in the audience. So, Beth, welcome. Thank you. Meetings, announcements, etc. Community Action Advisory Board, Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, 5 p.m., the council chambers. The Pontchartrain Levy District, Monday, September 16th, 2024, at 6 p.m., the Pontchartrain Levy District Headquarters Complex, 2069 Railroad Avenue in Lutcher. The Library Board of Control, Tuesday, September 17th, 2024, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. The Board of Adjustments, ZBA, Thursday, September 19th, 2024, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. The St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, September 23rd, 2024, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. We do have an announcement. The Board of Review, the Parish Council will be sitting as the Board of Review September 12th through September 26th, 2024. The 2024 assessment list, written or oral process, must be received by the Parish Council office by September 16th, 2024, at 4 p.m. Public hearings to consider the proposed 2025 capital and consolidated operating budget will be Tuesday, October 29th, 2024 at 9 a.m., Thursday, October 31st, 2024, 1 p.m., and Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Important dates for the November 5th, 2024 election. Monday, October 7th, 2024 is the last day to register to vote in person or by mail. Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 is the last day to register to vote online at govote.com. Early voting, Friday, October 18th, 2024, and Saturday, October 19th, 2024. Monday, October 21st to Saturday, October 26th, 2024, and Monday, October 28th to Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. It will be closed October 20th, 2024, and closed October 27th, 2024. It will be held 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the West Bank. It will be at the courthouse, 15045 River Road in Hahnville, and the East Bank will be the Auterbury Building, 14564 River Road in New Sarpy. Monday, November 4th, 2024 is the last day to request absentee by mail ballots. Monday, November 4th is the last day for register to receive the voted absentee ballots. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024 is Election Day, and it'll be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I want to urge all the residents, if they have any concerns, like Parish President Jules said, with regarding to the inclement weather, to call the EOC and report it, 985-785-5050. Oh, excuse me, 783. Thank you, Ms. Fonseca. I need a motion and a second to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. O'Daniels, second by Ms. Skiba. Please cast your votes to adjourn. Mr. Walker, would you like to leave tonight? Would you like to leave tonight? And that motion passes unanimously. We are officially adjourned.
411 on outdoor warning sirens. Know your parish. Our outdoor warning sirens are owned and maintained by the Waterford 3 nuclear facility and are tested at noon on the first Thursday of every month. Waterford 3 has allowed St. Charles Parish to use the sirens for other emergency situations, including tornado warnings, hurricane events, and any other event that poses an immediate and severe threat to the community. If the you.